The Daily Wire's this story. The mission statement of West Point will no longer include the words duty, honor, country, as the over 220-year-old military academy chose to adopt a new mission statement based on Army values. The military academy announced the proposed change on Monday, saying that the edits to the decades-old mission statement have already been approved by the Secretary of the Army and the Army Chief of Staff. West Point will still retain duty, honor, country as the academy's motto, saying that the changes to the mission statement came after a year-and-a-half-long assessment. West Point's new mission statement will be to build, educate, train, and inspire the Corps of Cadet to be commissioned leaders of character committed to Army values and ready for a lifetime of service to the Army and nation. The Academy explained the change by saying that it is part of a routine examination of the mission of the institution. Quote, our responsibility to produce leaders to fight and win our nation's wars requires us to assess ourselves regularly. Thus, over the past year and a half, working with leaders from across West Point and external stakeholders, we review our mission, vision, and strategy to serve this purpose. Blah, 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 et cetera, and so forth. So, this is the kind of story, it's actually from a week or so ago, and I've had it here, and I wanted to finally get around to it. It's the kind of story that sounds like it's tailor-made for the boomer outrage cycle. They're changing the motto for West Point. It's an outrage. But actually it is, or perhaps it's less of an outrage and more of a very troubling sign of the times. And yes, it's easy to point out that this motto, or this part of the mission statement, rather, is what they're changing. It's easy to point out that this was added in 1998. So it's not like it's a 200-year-old thing. And that's the kind of excuse they give for everything. Like when they tear down a statue, right? They'll always say, well, hey, the statue was only put up in the 40s, right? It's not that old. It's not like we're tearing down a 200-year-old statue. Now, meanwhile, they would happily tear down a 200-year-old statue, obviously. But that's not the point. The truth is, it doesn't matter when they came up with this language. The question is, why would you feel you needed to change it? Because you would think, you would hope, you would want to believe that duty, honor, country are three perfect words to sum up the mission of an institution like West Point. And now it's going to say build, educate, train, and inspire. So it goes from something strong, masculine, militaristic, to a mission statement that sounds like it could easily be the mission statement for any college, any school, any corporation. It could be a mission statement hanging on the wall in the break room at Best Buy, okay? It wouldn't look out of place at all there. Now, a mission statement at the Best Buy break room that says duty, honor, country would be awesome. I mean, I would be a big fan of Best Buy if they would put that in the break room, but that would seem like maybe slightly strange, or at least like a little more intense than you would expect for Best Buy. But educate, train, inspire, sure. I mean, that's any HR presentation will probably include that phrase somewhere. And so that's what they go. They go from something strong, militaristic, something that has real heft to it, something meaningful, to just like sanitized HR language. And that's what we find happening all across the country. If you're a business owner or hiring manager, you're probably familiar with how difficult hiring can be. And unfortunately, many businesses have been down on their luck trying to find top talent. Fortunately, you don't need luck to find top talent for your team. You need ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Walsh. ZipRecruiter's user-friendly technology guides you to finding top talent. When you post your job, ZipRecruiter's intuitive matching technology presents you with a list of qualified candidates. Once you've reviewed your list of qualified candidates, you can swiftly invite your top choices to apply. This streamlined process encourages them to apply sooner, allowing you to fill that role faster. Aren't you curious to see how ZipRecruiter can help you? Right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Walsh. 4 to 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Once again, just go to this exclusive web address to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Walsh. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Now, will this change affect anything? Will you notice any difference in your day-to-day life because West Point changed the language on its mission statement? No, obviously not. The point, again, is what it represents, what it's a symptom of. And that is the flight away from duty, honor, and patriotism, the rejection of those values, duty in particular. Now, patriotism, obviously we live in a society deficient in patriotism. We live in a country deficient in patriotism. We know a lot of people who live in this country hate this country, and that's a major problem. But I think most people, in theory, would claim that they are patriotic, right? Even now. And many of them aren't. Many of them are the opposite of patriotic. But if you were to ask most people, I think, and you were to say, are you a patriotic? They would probably say yes. So patriotism lives on in name, which doesn't mean much, obviously. And honor is another one. People don't talk about honor, but if you ask them about it and you said, is it important to act honorably? They would probably say yes. Even if they then proceed to act dishonorably, they would still say yes. So those two values are on life support, if not already dead, but they aren't rejected outright, I would argue, in the same way that duty is. And many in our culture are conditioned to reject the very idea of duty, to deny that they have any duty to anyone or anything. And so that's what this is really symptomatic of, is that these are just, it's actually upsetting to people when you talk about duty. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to hear about responsibility. The idea that they have a responsibility to anything, that they have, duty, obligation, responsibility, any of these are obviously all synonyms. And for a lot of people, the idea that they have an obligation at all, especially that they inherently have certain obligations, they reject that. And even in a context where you would think that everyone would agree, well, of course you have obligations there. Like, you're going to join the military? Obviously there are obligations. You go get a job at any company. If you work at Best Buy, there are obligations. But even in those contexts, if you talk to people about obligations, they say, well, don't tell me what I can do. I can do what I want to express myself. I want to be free to be me. And the problem, which is not really a problem, but why people see obligation as a problem is that, well, a lot of people are lazy. Pretty simple. They don't want to have to do things. But also it requires you to subordinate in some ways your personal expression. You cannot do and say everything that you want all the time, especially in the face of obligations, because the obligation comes along and says, okay, well, you might want to do this thing over here. You might want to express this. You might want to be this way. But here's a responsibility we need you to fulfill. And you just got to get it done. And if it's not possible for you to do that while still expressing yourself and being an individual, then too bad, you still need to do it. And that's the part that makes obligation, duty, responsibility anathema in our culture. Which is all the more reason why you would want an institution like West Point to emphasize it. Right? They should be making new mission statements that emphasize these points even more, if anything. But of course, they're going the other way. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.